Hello IT pros and welcome back to my IT workshop. This is Alvedril, and in this video we're going to continue scripting in Python, of course. For this one I'm going to create a basic IP scanner. So it's going to tell us what host in the range we're going to give it are up or down. Okay, so they are alive, they are on, or they don't exist, or they are shut down. And the caveat for this is that we're going to be doing it for a /24 network. So that means the last octet is the one we're going to modify, the one we're going to scan. Okay, so this is just as an exercise, so we can, me included, we can understand the concepts. Now, as you can see, this is I have Python installed here, and we are going to be using it. So the IP address that I have right now in this computer is 192.168.1.154. So this is the IP address of this computer, the one I'm using. And this one, as you can imagine, is what would be my router. So as you can see, I have ping. And what if I ping something that doesn't exist? Let's say 1.2. So as you can see, that one doesn't exist. I don't have anything assigned to that IP address. So it's going to give us destination host unreachable. And what if I ping, this is not in my network, but it's just to show you 7.4.2.1. So what is going to give us as a reply? So it's going to tell us, it's going to give us the message request timeout, right? So I know there are more errors, but these are the ones we can work with. And something I want you to notice is that when the ping is successful, like here, it's telling us all this. So what I'm going to use, of course, this is not the only method. This is the solution I found. I'm going to be using this. Okay, you're going to understand later when we are scripting, when we are coding. But I'm going to use this TTL equal as the parameter to verify that the host is up, so it has ping, okay? Because the rest doesn't have that. It says destination host unreachable or timeout, and there are some other errors as well. Okay, so like I said, this is a class C network, or IP in this case, and the last octet is this one. So this is the one we're going to be changing. We're not going to change any of this. Of course, we can code it, but for this example, I'm just going to modify this, all right? So with that, we're going to start. So the first thing, I'm going to import the library subprocess. We have used this library in the past that allow us to run either, well, we are in Windows. It allows us to run CMD commands like ping or I don't know, so any other command that Windows uses. And if you're working in Linux, it's going to do the same for Linux. The other library we're going to use is import RE. So this library is to, what was the name? Is to recognize patterns. So we're, like I mentioned, we need to recognize this TTL. Okay, so this library, what it does is allows you to find certain words in a text. All right, so that's what we need. And then, like I mentioned, that's a library that Python has, one of the many. So now we are going to ask the client to put the first IP address. So I'm going to declare a variable first IP, and this one is going to be equal to input. We're going to tell as the client enter the first IP address. I don't know why this has to be capital. IP address. So we give that, and we're going to do the same for the second one. So this one is going to be the last IP address. So the client, most likely a technician or a network engineer, is going to give us the first IP address and the last IP address in the range that you want the scanner to check if the hosts are up or down. Now this is going to be enter the last IP address. So like always, these are just variables. You can call it anything that you may like. Now here I'm not restricting anything. So I'm not saying this has to be an integer or something. It's just a raw input, which is a string anyway. Then we are going to define a function, def, and I'm going to call it get host. So you're going to understand in a few more minutes. So what this function is going to do is going to return back. It's going to receive the information from the client, the first IP address and the last IP address, and it's going to separate it in the network and the actual range that we need, right? So for that, I'm going to go for I'm going to type a for e. It can, again, this is just a variable in x, what we are going to receive from the client. If e it's equal to dot. So why am I doing this? So when you see an IP address like here, you can notice that it has 4 octets, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So between after every octet, you can see a dot. So we have 1, 2, 3 dots. So what we need to separate the information that the client is going to give us is this one is the network, and this one is the port, the 4 octet that is going to change. All right. So we need to separate these two, this part and this part. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So every time we see a dot in the text, we are going to add 1 to the counter, to the dot counter. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So if e it's equal to, well, a dot, what's going to happen is the dot counter, oh yeah, I didn't define it. You can call it anything you want, as I always say, but I call it just dot counter plus 1. Yeah, I know I can do it the other way. I'm going to do it in a few more seconds. So I forgot to declare the variable. This one is going to be dot counter equal 0. So we have that. So every time it finds a dot, it's going to add 1 to that dot. In total, we're going to have 3. So now if the dot counter, if this variable it's equal to 3, what's going to happen? I want it to return us this. So it's going to give us the X, which is the text from the client. And here we're using, what's the name? We are using the position. So what we want to be returned. So from 0, and I need another variable, another counter. So this one is going to be the position counter. So I need to know this one is going to be also equal to 0. And I need to know from this to this part, I need to know the position of this last dot. Because when the dot counter reaches 3 or is equal to 3, I want to know the position. So I can recover all this until this part, well, not the dot, but all this part. All right. And also this is useful to recover this part as well. All right. So that's what I'm doing right now. So once the dot counter is 3, we are going to return X, which is the first IP and the last IP, from the position 0, which is going to be this one, position 0, until this position. Actually, it's this position, but when you do this in Python, it always gives you 1 less. So actually, it's going to be until number 1, right? So we have this, and it's going to be position counter. Yep, position counter plus 1. So that's what's going to give us back. And the other thing is going to give us that I want the other variable I want, the other information I need, is this part over here. So we can have the function to return two values. So this one is going to be kind of the same, x from position counter, I believe I have it here, position counter plus 1 until the end. So that's how you declare to give you a return from position counter plus 1 until the end of the string. So that's what we need. So now, once we have that, we are going to break it, because after it reaches 3, we don't care anymore. So that's all we need. And here we're going to, of course, do the position counter the other way. So like this, plus 1. So we are increasing. As you know, these two ways to type this increases the variable by 1. Now we are going to return what we need. So I'm just going to call it network. That's what we need. And first host. So these are just two variables that I'm declaring. You can call it anything that you may like. And we're going to call the function here, get host, but this is capital. Get host. Oh, this is capital too. Get host, and we are going to get the first IP, and we are going to get the same. So I'm going to copy this for the last IP. I'm going to explain this in a few more seconds, and this is going to be last host. Get host last IP, and we have that. So let's print it and see what we get. Print network, and print, let's say, first host. So we're going to give this 10, and we're going to print last host as well, and we're going to see what we get. Last host. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it. So where is my IP? I need my IP. So this is going to be my first IP over here, and we're going to run it. Run module. I'm sorry, it's in my other screen. So it's asking us, enter the first IP address. So this is the one, and enter the last IP address in the range that you want to scan. So I'm just going to give it like 2. And here, as you can notice, it's giving us, it's printing back the network, which is exactly what we need. This is the part that is not going to change. And it's also giving us the first host, which is 154 for this example, and the last host, 156. So it's giving us that, which is pretty cool. But this shouldn't be +1. This should be like this. Let's try it again. So I'm going to need this one more time. I'm going to close this. I'm going to save it and run again. Run module. I don't know why it does it in the other screen. So 154 and 157, let's say. So now it's working better. No, yeah, I'm going to need the extra dot because later we need to glue them together again. So yeah, I really need the post counter +1. So what am I doing here? Once I reach, once the dot counter reaches 3, I don't need to do it anymore because there are no more dots, and that's what I'm interested in. So I'm going to ask it, ask the function to return the position of from 0 from the first part of the string that the client has typed to the position counter +1. So as you can see, the position counter after all this is completed is going to be increased by 1 every time. Even we don't care if it's a dot or not, it's just counting positions. And the second thing we are going to, that is going to be returned, is the position counter itself. Because, well, not the position counter. it's going to be returned from this part over here. So that's why I'm going to use the position counter plus 1, because the position counter actually is going to be here, right? But I don't need the dot. I just need everything after the dot, which is, in this case, is well, in the case of the example, is 154. I don't need the dot. So that's why I'm adding I'm adding 1 to the pos counter. And this means to the end. So the end is going to be, where is the example? Did I close it? Oh, I have it here. So it's going to be from here to the end. So that's the end, okay? So that's what I'm doing here. And over here, next, just giving, since I'm asking to have two results, I'm going to have to give those results a variable, right? So network and first host. As you can see, this is the order. I'm calling network to this part of the code that is going to be returned. And to this other part of the code, I'm going to call it first host. And why, you might be asking, why these two have the same name? Aren't they rewriting, assigning another value? And the answer in this case is no, because the network, like I mentioned, is not going to change. This part is not going to change ever in this example, because it's a class C network. So the only part that is going to change is this one, the 4 octet. All right. So that's why you can call it network 1. Doesn't make a difference because it's going to be the same. And since we have to do it twice, because the client is going to enter the first IP address and the last IP address, that's why we have it twice here. We're asking the get host function to return what we need from the first IP address over here and from the last IP address over here, right? So that was kind of a long explanation. So that's what we need. So I'm going to delete this because we don't really need it. And now we are going to start making it work, making it scan. So I'm going to create an empty string. Where is underscore string? So this is going to be empty. And also a new list. Do I need a new list for this one? I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe, I don't know. I can declare it later. And I know I'm going to need a counter. Counter equal 0. These are just variables. Can be anything that you may like. And now we start. For E, again, it's not the same E. It's just the variable. For E, in the range that we have, is going to be first host to, oh, I need this, to last host plus 1. But if you have been watching my videos, I always make this mistake. If I run this, it's going to give me an error because this one and this, well, this doesn't really make, we don't care about that one. Well, but yeah, we don't care, but we are going to do it anyway. This variable is stored as a string, and I cannot add a number to a string. It just, you cannot do it. So what I need to do, only for this one, but we are going to do for both, is add int. So this makes sure, when you type int, make sure that what is inside of the parentheses is going to be an integer, okay? For this one, for first host, we don't need it because we are not adding anything to first host, but just for it to look more presentable, I'm just going to do this, all right? Again, if you run this without int, you're going to get an error saying you cannot add an integer, you cannot concatenate an integer to a string. So that happened to me in other videos, so I just learned my lesson. So now we're going to declare another variable. I'm going to call it process, and now comes the interesting part where we are going to use the subprocess library. So I'm calling some process that we have over here. And no, this doesn't have to be capital. Sub process get output. Yes, that's correct. And now we're going to this part. It's this library, we're calling the library right now, and it's going to execute the CMD commands because we're using Windows. So I'm going to do ping, which is what we need, -n1. Oh, I didn't explain this part. If you remember here, I'm going to try to ping myself, this computer, and you can notice that it does it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. But in my opinion, that's too much. So what we need to add here, let me copy this very quick. What we need to add this to make it even faster is -n1. So this one just pings once, as you can see here. We only have one ping, which makes things very quick. So we don't have to be waiting 4 times. If I change this to 2, well, it's going to do it twice, right? So you can see here, 1, 2, and we get the result we want. But 1 is enough for me. So that way it's going to be faster. So I'm going to keep it like that. And then I'm going to concatenate it with the network. If you remember correctly, or if you remember a few seconds ago, the network is all this part. All right? Well, in this case, all this part. So that's what we need because this one doesn't change. And we're going to concatenate it with I, which is this one, which is the one that is going to be changing, which is the range. What is this? Which is each number between included 154 to 157. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's what's going to change. That's I, right? But again, I know what's going to happen. We have to put string here. Otherwise, it's going to tell us you cannot concatenate, blah, 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 blah. And I'm missing something here. So process, I think, yeah. I'm checking parentheses. I'm not sure. Yeah, we should be good. We should be good. All right. So now we're going to make this variable. We're going to put this variable in use. So we're going to say every time you execute the command, because it's a for, right? It's a loop. Every time you do it for a new IP address, you are going to add the result to this empty string. So that's what you are going to do. So we are going to add whatever process it's going to, what process is going to get is this one, technically. This is what it's going to get. So that's every time it does it, we're going to save the result here in empty string, right? So now we are going to use this library. And the way we are going to use it is I'm going to declare a variable string needed. So that's, again, that's just a name of the variable. You can call it anything that you may like. And the way this library works is we have to do this. RE, I'm calling the library. And now I'm going to use the function inside this library. So it's called compile. So these commands are just how the library works. So this cannot be changed. This is just how it has to be done. So the way it works is I'm going to type R for row, and row means whatever you want to look for, I'm going to look for it. All right. So if you remember, what we need is this one. We talked about this kind of almost at the beginning, and this is what we want to look for. You can look also for this or for time or for something. Well, I don't see any other thing that might work. But in this case, I just chose to look for TTL because if you notice when the host is up, it's going to give you this message, all this message, right? But when the host is down, it can give you this one over here, and you can see this one is Okay. It can give you request timeout, or it can give you destination host and reachable, all this. So you don't see TTL equal to something. That only shows up when the ping has been successful. So I'm using just that. So this is how you do it using this library. And now this is just a variable. I read it that this is kind of the standard way to do it. This is just a variable. MO, it's just a variable. Okay, so we're going to use this guy. String needed search, and where are we going to look for this? So in empty string, of course. So I'm going to explain in a few more seconds what am I doing. Okay, so for every value in the range of the first host to the last host, which is this range in this case, from 154 to 157. So that's our range. So it's going to be 154, 5, 6, and 7. So in that range, I'm adding 1 because if you know Python, when you do a range, it's not going to do the last one. It's going to do the last one minus 1. So it would do it until 156. That's just how Python does it. So that's why I'm adding 1. So it's going to reach where we need to reach. Now this is a variable process, and this is a command from the subprocess library over here that we are importing. So subprocess get output. So what this is doing is pinging, is running a command, a CMD command, which is ping minus n, also only one ping, very quick, plus network. It's concatenating plus network, and as you know, we have the network here. We have printed a few minutes ago, and next we are going to concatenate it with the IP address, which is going to be 154, 56, 57, 57. So that's what it's doing. And the result of that, which is going to be something like this, something like this, is going to save it in this empty string. All right, so that's why this. So I'm saving it. So now I'm going to separate it. So from here, we are starting to use the RE library, which this library allows you to look for a specific word or words, right? So I just declare a variable, a string needed, can be anything that you may like. And this part is the way you have to make it, you have to type it to make it work. So re.compile, so here we're telling what we want to look for in the string. So we want, this is for row, you have to type this, and this part is what we're looking for. Don't forget, if it's what you're looking for, it's in capital, you have to put it in capitals. If it's in lowercase, in lowercase. So I'm looking for this. I just could only type TTL and it's going to do it, but I mean, it doesn't make much difference. So TTL equal, that's what we want to look for. That's the string that we need. And where are we going to look for that? So this is another variable, can be anything that you may like. A string needed is this one over here. Search is another function from the RE library. It's like compile, right? And where are we going to look for this? In the empty string, here. So that's, in quote, the difficult part. So now we're going to go to try this if mo.group. Yeah, I know it's kind of odd, but I'm going to explain it. It's equal to TTL equal, what's going to happen? You're going to print host is up, and except we're going to print host is down. And I'm going to explain in a few more seconds. And I don't want, after it's going to do this 54, 55, 4 times for this example, right? So after it does that for 54, for example, I don't need the string anymore. I don't care about that string. What I mean is about all this information, I don't care about it because I don't need it. I need to go to 55. So that's what I care in the next time this is going to be run. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to empty this variable. I'm going to make it empty like this. All right. So we're going to check. I have to explain this. Okay. So here I explain it until here, and I'm going to do try. Why am I using try? If you know Python, try and except is to handle errors. So if I were to type just if, forget about except and try. If I were to type just if and else, okay, it's going to give me an error when it doesn't find this. It's going to give me an error. So the software is going to stop. The script is going to stop running. And of course, we don't want that. Why that happens? Because that's just the way this library works. If it doesn't find what you're looking for, what you are telling, what string you want to look for, if it doesn't find it, it's going to give you an error. And of course, you don't want that, right? So that's why I'm using try and except. So I'm saying try this one. Okay, it's up. And except, it means that if it doesn't find it, instead of stopping the software and giving you an error, it's going to print host is down. Okay, it's just that. That's why I'm doing this. I know it looks kind of weird, but that's what I'm doing. So empty string. Pretty much that's it. So I'm going to print completed to let us know that it has finished. So we save it and we're going to run it. Run module. So that's good, I didn't close it. So from here, and what did I do wrong? So we're going to run it again. Run module. Why is on this screen? So paste. Oh, that's why. So it's not going to work again. So yes, run module, and first IP address. Yeah, now it's going to work. So I'm going to give me a bigger range. So it's going to be 155 because I know I have devices connected. Not all of them, but I have devices in this range. What's going on? So process get output out. Okay, I mistyped that. Get output. So just for a T. Run module, save it, yes. And 54, and the range is going to be 65. Why do I have errors? All right. This one, empty string, it has to be plus equal. Where is that? I don't see it. Empty string. It has to be the other way around. Bam. Run module. We're going to do it again. 54 until 65. Host is up. Host is down. Host is down. Down. That's up. Down. Up. Down. And what's the last one? Print completed. Name error. Print. Oh, it's not defined. Why? Oh, it's capital. It doesn't have to be capital, but it's working. So we're going to change this. So that's with lowercase, and you can see that it's working, but it's kind of, I don't know what is it pinging, right? Yeah, we have given the range, but it's not showing us that. So we can modify that a little. So here we can change this. Print host is space, so we're going to concatenate it with network plus E plus is app, and we're going to copy the same for this one. Well, no, not almost the same. From here to here, host is down. So let's see what happens. Host network plus I plus, oh, this has to be like this, is that, oh, double plus. All right, but here for I, that's an integer, so it's going to give me an error. So that's why I'm going to turn it into a string. So what it's going to do is host the network plus the actual IP address is going to tell us that it's going to give us a better message so we can understand it better. So I'm going to copy this again, my range. So I'm going to save it, going to run module, as always is giving me this in the other monitor. What did we say? 56, right? So now that's a little more interesting. So host is giving us the IP address, is up. 55 is down, 58 is down, 59 is down, and 163 is up. So to make sure that these are up, I'm going to ping these guys from the CMD. Why is this so big? Okay, so let's try ping 192.168.1.159, for example, and it's up, as you can see here. Let's try 153. No, not 50, 63, and that one is up as well. Let's try 160 because that one doesn't exist, and as you can see here, it's not giving us anything, right? So I'm just showing you that these devices are actually up. I believe this one is my cell phone, and this one I don't remember what it is. So let's give it another range that we know it's going to work. Like I mentioned, ping 168, 192, 168.1.1. That's my router, right? So we know it's up. So we're going to give it another range. So run module, IP address, so just paste. So this time it's going to, what am I doing? So this time it's going to be from 1 to 5. Let's see what happens. So we know number 1 is up, and I know the rest is not connected. Those IP addresses are not assigned to anything. So as you can see here, that one is working. Something that we can do to even make it more interesting is that we can, if you have many IP addresses, let's say you are doing 100 IP addresses, we can add something like at the end, after it does all this, we can say, okay, out of 100 IP addresses, 50 are up. The other 50 are down, something like that, or 50% is up, or 20% is up, the rest is down. So it can be more interesting. Other thing that we can add, of course, it would be a little more code, would be to get the MAC address, for example. So it would be host 192.168.1.1 with MAC address it's up, or it's down, or something like that. So it can be more interesting to do. All right. So this is the code. Maybe you want now to know how to shut down multiple Windows computers in a domain. I have a video for that. You can check that as well. Or you want to recover or push configuration to a Cisco device. So I have done that as well in the past. So you can click on those videos if you're interested. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video, guys. How to create a basic IP scanner for a Class C network. So I hope you like the video. If you like it, please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any other questions, leave it in the comment section below. And as always, I'll see you in the next